Yeah.
Somebody was having a senior.
No.
All right, we apologize for a short delay to start our special meeting tonight. As we're having just getting online here. So with that, welcome everybody to the first of many, hopefully not many, but a few budget meetings that we'll have preparing our 2025 budget. First off, as always, we'd like to acknowledge that tonight we're gathered on Treaty 5 territory, on traditional land of our neighbors, the Pascua Cree Nation, as well as many other Indigenous people, and as well as the homeland of the Métis people. Before we get started, I would like to welcome Ravi, our new assistant to the CAO. Ravi, you want to introduce, like, I'm Andre Murphy, I'm the mayor, maybe it doesn't.
Trent Allen, council.
Carrie Atkinson, deputy mayor.
Randy Manager.
Margaret Commodore.
Larry Forster.
You want to maybe tell this great community how you've joined us today and anything special you want to share with us before we get started?
Well, it's my first day and then I'm like overwhelmed, and it's like a big step into my life. Like I'm into this place, you know, the town of the Par has been like part of my life for a year. I've been in UCM doing my officer assistant program for a year, and then it was a great opportunity given to me to give my you know, my skills and whatever I have learned from the school. And I would definitely take it as a big step of my life. And then I would see myself, you know, helping the town as what I can do.
Well, welcome to the team. We look forward to working with you. So thanks for joining us. So we'll just move on, call the meeting to order. Somebody should have a resolution to adopt the agenda.
Resolution number 2025-009, moved by Councillor Atkinson, seconded by myself, resolved that the agenda be adopted as written.
Any additions to the agenda? Just as a note, for Councillor Hopper is going to be late. He's on his way. Everybody else is in attendance. Any call question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so we have a bit of a budget sort of presentation that we're going to go through with our members of our administration. What's that for? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Aren't I doing that right? Oh, okay. I didn't. So the purpose is this is a special meeting for our budget for 2025. So I just want to thank everybody. Thank our administration to get us to where we're at today. We're going to go through a bit of a budget review. I just want to acknowledge, you know, we're starting this process today as part of our plan for 2025. And I know there's been significant amount of work put into it to get us so far this far. But what we're looking at is you know, with what was presenting in front of us today is a 10% increase in our budget, going back to our community members, and almost a 6 mil increase in taxation. So, you know, I really want us, if that's where it ends up, that's where it ends up. But I really do want to challenge us with us to make sure that we assess and reassess on how we operate, make sure we understand our processes and they're as efficient as possible. We have good, really structure around our spending and what we're planning on doing this year. And more importantly, we really do understand our priorities. You know, we really should be thinking and what we're challenging, and I'm speaking first, I guess, but council can jump in when I'm finished, is that, you know, we need to look at the way we can do things better and how we can do it more effectively and efficiently, and we really need to ensure that whatever we're doing today is bringing the value and the returns that our community members would be looking for when we're making these investments. So I look forward over the next few meetings to sort of drive down those processes. And I hope that when we're talking about savings with regards to some of the investments we want to make, that we've reduced, if there's savings coming to the community, especially financials, that we're removing it from our financials at the same time, so that there's a zero or less of an impact on the community. If there's actually benefits and services that we're identifying based on this investment, that we highlight that to the community so they know what those new service levels they'll be receiving, but also for council to understand whether that's what our community members were really looking for to increase services around there. So I'll open it up to anybody else in council that would like to mention anything right now, and I'm sure there's going to be lots more discussion as we go through it. Everybody's good? So I will pass it over to our, and again, thanks to everybody for the work that's been put in so far, but this is the beginning. Okay.
So as the mayor mentioned, this is just the beginning of talks so that we can get an understanding of what council is looking for management. And also that council can understand what management's asks are and reasons behind them. We expect that at some point there'll be things taken out and things that will be put back in and get reworked and put back to council. So this is just a high level overview of where we stand right now. So the agenda that I plan on walking through today is a review of the SWOT items. So the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, items that each department manager has chosen to focus on for 2025 and their strategies to mitigate those risks or capitalize on those opportunities. High level overview of the department's budget increase and the anticipated impact on the mill rate, and a financial snapshot offering council additional insight into the specific factors that are affecting this mill rate. And you can see here the order in which we'll go through this.
Just
So
a
for-
note, so does the people online get to see the actual presentation?
No, I don't have a set up like that.
Okay.
They do have access to the agenda to get.
Oh, right, yeah, so it is, so anybody that's looking online to relate to this, it is on our website, the agenda information.
So for general operations, we've chosen to focus on following items. Maintenance demands have been increasing and require more attention than have been previously provided for in the past. This has led to growing backlog of maintenance tasks, resulting in an increase in community complaints about the condition of facilities. And to resolve this, the CEO would like to add a position for a maintenance director, which will provide the oversight and training required for our maintenance staff. The organization currently lacks sufficient, consistent, and structured training and development programs. And the new training program proposed by HR, along with the developed and monitored training program for the management staff, will help resolve this. We feel the organization does not capitalize on available grants due to limited staff and time resources. This results in missed funding opportunities, hindering growth or ability to expand programs and services. In 2024, we signed a contract with GrantMatch to streamline the application process, and we're in the works of establishing an effective tracking and reporting system. And there's been multiple conversations between administration and council that our current tax structure does not effectively serve the needs of the community and requires restructuring. This is resulting in inequity, or pardon me, I can't speak today. Underfunding of services and dissatisfaction with residents. This is limiting the organization's ability to meet its objectives and support the community's well-being. With the support of council, we're exploring our options available under the Municipal Act, which could include implementing a special service levy. Does council have any questions about these at the moment?
Yeah, and I have questions, but I'm not sure when to start asking, so I'll just wait.
Whenever you like.
Yeah, so grant match, just for people that are viewing and watching today, doesn't actually have any financial impact to be into grant match until we get an actual grant where we actually have to provide a certain percentage back to grant match, right? It's a free service based on grants being captured, correct?
What would you like to?
Yeah, it is a free service, but when they get the grant approved,
Yeah.
it takes certain percentage.
Yeah, that's what I was. Saying, yeah, exactly. That's good to know.
I have a question surrounding the proposed training program through HR. My question is HR here? No.
He's not.
No, okay. Is it something that he has developed and who will be implementing the program?
He will be implementing the program and overseeing the progress as it goes through he hasn't developed the program. We're
Okay.
hiring a third-party company. who
Gotcha.
Has the program.
Okay.
I believe that was approximately $14,000 that was built into the budget for that. 11,000 is an annual.
And is it online or in person?
It's on.
Online. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep going for now.
So the general operating, the mill rate impact will be 0.027 mils with an overall budget increase of $58,108. And that's over the 2024 budget. So I always compare budget to budget when doing these for the simple reason that that is what impacts the mill rate, not actual versus budget.
Yeah, so when, I know we talked, before around budgets, I know that we compare budget to budget for mill rates, but to be able to make good judgment on specific changes, we kind of need to see actuals because actuals will tell us whether we need to increase or if in the actuals are showing us for years and years and years, we're running at a certain time or spot under budget, then that maybe should be our new target. So we'll need to see something around that in the future, but I know we're not there tonight, but
Yeah.
I think we need to see that. Just on your general financial snapshot, so we're looking at RCMP costs of increasing by about $154,000 again next year. And again, that's a $3.7 million expense to the municipality based on a $14 million budget.
Yeah, 17 now.
17 million, and then subtract the RC or the school price costs off there.
Yeah, we're looking at about 3.5.
Yeah, so 14 off of the 14 million that the municipality is collecting, school taxes don't really count because we don't see that as a pass through. 3.7 million of that are going to RCMP costs, so we need to continue to, advocate to try to do something with that down the road, and maybe it's time to shop around the RCMP services.
So currently the RCMP costs are estimated based on historical average increases and projected costs if the staffing was at full capacity. So I know that it hasn't been that way for a little while. However, if we don't budget for that and they end up hiring more people, then we'll be caught.
Well, the other impact that RCMP is doing right now to get their service levels where they are is they're bringing in guys or members from other detachments, and they're paying them significantly more money to be here and supporting the local members. So, I think that the recruitment challenges they have with isolated posting pays and stuff is real.
So the administrative wage increase reflects the addition of a full year HR officer, where last year we had it, we budgeted for half year. Standard wage increases and hiring of a full-time maintenance director. Increase in civic center costs is due to higher repairs needed for building maintenance and the rising cost of hydro. This is driven by hydro's rate increases projected for 2025 as well as colder winter. Increase in training costs is linked to the setup and licensing of the training program included by the HR officer during his capital.
So I know, Eric's here now, but, is this linked to some sort of measurement on performance? Like, have we completed the loop on performance evaluations and is this a sort of a gap that we've identified for and on top of that, I wouldn't mind actually seeing how the 87,000 is made up in the future for each employee.
Okay, so there's been some trainings that have been identified, especially in the managerial position. But we're looking at how to subsidize this cost, and we're looking to due to the urgency of the budget, we are trying to minimize it in a way that we put the one manager at a time for now, until we can have the financial capacity to accommodate multiple managers. And yes, this is also going to be attached to the performance evaluation. Some has already been made, and some will be made going forward.
I don't know, we sort of just to have a general comment on just so that it's sort of sets the stage on wages. Wages is really, and when you talk about wages, it's not a specific just pay increase, because I think you mentioned that the municipal are unionized employees and most of the staff are getting a really good stuff. But when you look at the overall increase in wages, and this sort of relates to headcount, we're seeing about a 15% overall increase in expenses that come with wages. And just to put it in perspective, that's about a 3.5, almost a 3.6 mill rate increase, $760,000 in increased wages. So I'll be really interested in understanding, and I'm not sure what council feels, but I'll be interested in understanding how we will move that expense, and the value that will go back to the ratepayers. And I would also think it would be beneficial for council to see what the headcount increase would look like and what it has looked like over time, based on because dollars really don't make a lot of, when you look at this entire budget and when you're reviewing it, it's hard to actually see labor, because labor is spread out throughout the whole financial plan. That, you know, it goes snow clearing, public works, fire department, so it's tough to see. So it'd be nice to see a bit of a head count over the last 5 years or so, that we see that whether we've been increasing it budget to budget, but then also it would be good to see what the full-time equivalency would have been for last year versus what we're at. Any comments, council?
And are you saying headcounts for laborers alone or managers included?
Just total head count, you should have, yeah, you should have unionized and non-unionized guys, so we have an idea where the staffing increases are or not. And so that, again, when we bringing on new staff, especially when we're creating new positions, Robert, you know that there has to be some sort of return coming back to the municipality, at least an equivalency benefits to what that staffing increase is doing. Because we have to justify that. Oh, that's okay. Probably gonna be watching anyways, but I might want to watch on the road. You just have the notes thing selected, go over to your little
No,
slide
it
thing.
was- it's up here, it's not projecting. For whatever reason. Yeah, I'm not sure, it was working earlier today, but it doesn't seem to want to work. Probably now,
Because the whole half is in front of them.
yeah, I'll just go like this.
Click beside your negative on the bottom slide bar, just click that little presentation one.
Yeah, it doesn't,
It's lagging behind.
it's
Oh.
doing it here, and it's not
Oh.
doing it there. I'm not sure why. It's just not.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay, we have it in.
Not even trying. Okay, so going back to the financial snapshot, we're increasing the expenses for repairs and maintenance on the library as that facility is requiring more maintenance due to the aging infrastructure and equipment that's happening. We're finding there's been quite a few problems creeping up this year, so we would like to get ahead of them next year.
Is there I'm assuming if somebody was looking for it, there'd be a list of things that we're planning on fixing that increase that budget?
You can definitely talk to Joe more about that.
Yeah.
You-
So on the repairs for the increased budget on the maintenance for the library, is there like a list of things that we're planning on doing this year to fix the library up that costs more than last year?
I'm trying to move the.
I kind
so
of
that
left it
they-
up right now, I don't have, I definitely don't have a list of what's going on there. But now we're trying to alleviate what's happening in the basement and I'm gonna get that.
So our revenue increases include, the inclusion of remaining deferred bipool funds, so that we have been receiving funding for the last couple of years, but we will be spending the remainder of what was deferred in this year, and that will be for the dehumidifier capital project. So
Okay.
that revenue then gets recognized in the operating, and then the corresponding capital expenditure will be recognized. We're all set with that.
So that's the 389,000.
Actually, we have 401 sitting deferred right now.
Okay. So, oh, no, so that increased revenue though, when that's that
That's
majority of
part
that's
of that,
okay.
yeah, that's quite a bit of it, as well as there's been some regular operating grants where we're now receiving regular increase on, thanks to the support of AMM and the push to the provincial government, so we're receiving regular increases now on our normal operating grant as well as our crime prevention funds, where they were stagnant for a number of years.
Yeah, the 2.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so that's the increases that will be seen here. Any other questions?
What, so just as a general, what would be that increase in that dollar value? I can't remember.
I would have to look that up. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can definitely give it to you when we get into the more breakdown.
Yeah, I was just curious. So I was just asking for somebody's open their TV line.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely get into that when we get into the more detailed version of everything that's going on, but again, just trying to give you guys a high level overview of what we have sitting right now. Trevor, are you still there?
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear now, guys?
Here, everybody's quiet.
Okay.
I will go and we'll listen quietly.
They can hear you as good as they're going to, Trevor.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well then I will start on my slide, make it quick. So, we have 4 items at the airport we're just gonna focus on this year for, future initiatives. You know, and this support that we've kind of been talking about, over the past year. The facilities are reaching the end point of their useful life and, needs replacing. So, we're gonna investigate all funding options. Cost to replace the electrical infrastructure cannot be achieved without some outside funding. So that's, where we're gonna lean on every grant possible. And this is where also ACAP. So you're gonna hear the word ACAP come in the next 3 of these topics. ACAP is Airport Capital Assistance Program. The fortunate thing for us at the PAW, when you are 49,999 passengers or less, you are eligible for 100% ACAP funding. So not only is our facilities and infrastructure, but also our equipment is severely aged and beyond their useful life, and it's really limping. So that's another focus. So far we have facilities, and we have equipment that's come down to their useful life. The third part is the airport relies heavily on third-party vendors to support our airport infrastructure. That means, you know, the electrical, which includes all the lighting, all the circuits and everything that protect our airfields, lighting, the overhead lighting inside the maintenance shop and all the hangars. We have a third-party electrician. Now he's being stressed because of other airports now contacting him for work, and but he is also the cheapest. So we will make sure that we have a nice list of applicable third-party vendors to help us. Now, when it comes to equipment, which is maintenance of our vehicles for snow removal and de-icing, our mechanic is 65 years old. And rightfully so, gets to choose when he works. So we are in the process of, you know, putting together a vendor list of who can be available to us as we need them. The fourth one comes down to rehabilitate the terminal building. So we're going to utilize the staff to paint and clean the airport as best we can. And then also use seating, and we have already received the garbage can recycling bins from WA, but also get some new seating in there to not only increase, but to modernize. And then, you know, look at putting some painting and maybe some local art on the walls, depending on what our budget may look like. So that's futures. Looking overall at the airport summary. So we have an increase of, I see, you know, 192% over 2024. So the equipment that we purchased through, and it will be captured on the next slide. Even though the equipment through ACAP has been, will cost us $0, it's still captured in the number. And my understanding is just so that we have it on record, and just because there's going to be capital investment needed or monies needed to maintain that equipment in the future. So to account for that. The airport, we've also budgeted for some paving. So, you know, a big part of what an airport does and how we generate revenue is through the water bombers who are there during the summer season to fight all local fires. So for an airport community like us, it's unfortunate that there's fires in the area, but it is a big revenue for us. And one thing that they flagged to us is that the apron space in front of their hangar has deteriorated, and debris, or what we call FOD, or foreign object debris. So that doesn't get ingested by the aircraft or be dragged around into the hangar and create other potential hazards. So it's come to its useful life. So that's also in the budget. I think it's about 150, and then we're looking for funding for about another 100 or so. But those are the 2 big drivers of our increase of I think you have here, Laura, it equals 0.33 mils of the budget. So if we go to the third slide, which is the airport financial impact, again, you're gonna see a big jump in the capital. And the capital, that's because that's ACAP capturing the purchase of the 3 pieces of equipment and the electrical project we're looking at. Wages increase 4%, and that's part of the recently negotiated new union agreement for the next 3 years. Outside contracts, again, it's moved up because we've seen an increase in a need based off the old infrastructure and the equipment. We've seen an increase in the need for that third-party vendors to come in. Fuel sales, it's a -8%, because we brought it more in line with what the actuals were in 2024. I'm hoping we'll surpass this the 1.2 million in fuel sales, but we want to follow the numbers that we had in 2024.
Oh, looks good.
And that's the end of my presentation, unless anyone has questions.
No, it looks good. I assume that we will coordinate any paving projects with the paving that's going on in town, so.
Sorry, I can't really hear those comments. I heard you at first, and then I couldn't hear it further.
It's Concord.
The paving, are you actually using concrete or asphalt in front of the hangar?
Asphalt.
Okay. Not concrete.
Not concrete. It's gonna be asphalt based off of the weight of the aircraft and the needs of the area.
Good.
They are good. Thank you for joining us, Trevor. I'll let you go.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Fire department. Fire department chief insurance.
Okay, so during our SWOT analysis, myself and Jacob worked on this. One of our weaknesses has been budget restraints. Over the last 7 years, the fire department's budget has only went up $70,000 roughly. Compared to public works and recreation, which have seen a $700,000 and $1.5 million increase. 70 grand doesn't really touch anything to do with fire department equipment. These costs are going to continue to increase, especially with the tariffs that the U.S. is threatening us with. Even if we buy from a Canadian supplier, it all comes from down in the States. So either way, we're going to get hit with the increase. Another one was expiring PPE. We have multiple sets of turnout gear that are past their 10-year lifespan. That includes jackets, helmets, pants, boots. We have budgeted to replace 5 sets of turnout gear at roughly $5,000 each. We have 11 helmets that are out of date. They've gone up to just about $1,000 each, and 5 sets of boots at $1,000 each. None of our turnout gear is cheap. We've also included to purchase 15 pairs of structural gloves and 6 balaclavas. During the winter months, when we're on these long fires, our gloves get wet. If they're not waterproof, our hands get cold, and there's that risk of frostbite. So having these spare sets of gloves and balaclavas is definitely a safety thing. Sometimes we don't have enough members on scene to send them back to warm up. Even if we do, their gear warms up, it melts, now they're wet, they're going back out to the -40 weather. The gloves and balaclavas don't have an expiration date on them, but gloves do get ripped up. As soon as they have a rip in them, we can't use them anymore. It's a safety risk. Another one was our VHF radios. Currently, we don't have enough portable VHF radios that are operational. It's another huge safety concern. Everybody on the scene of an incident is required to have a radio, to have a means of communication in case of an injury or trapped during a fire. If they don't have one, they can't communicate that they're injured, trapped. Currently, we have 2 radios on pumper 1, no radios on tender 1, 3 radios on pumper 2, and 0 radios on RU. So even if we're on a motor vehicle collision on the highway, we cannot communicate to do traffic control. It's all by hand signals, and if you go around the corner, we can't communicate. These radios do not communicate with the P25 radio we purchased last year from Bell, that $4,000 radio. These are strictly fireground radios. They talk to each other and that's it. We also don't have.
Just a question, so the other radios, I guess, can't be used, like,
Currently, we only have 3 of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't think council has any appetite to buy 30.
no, I just.
$3,000 radio. So, yeah. So even as the incident commanders, we don't have enough radios for them to have portable on them to talk with these crews. So we are tied to our vehicle. We are a stationary IC. We're relying on everybody else to provide us with information. And then we can relay information through our base station in our vehicles, which sometimes it's good, but on large scenes like the Lido, it's tough to be stationed at a vehicle, not being able to move around. If every truck shows up to a scene with each seat filled, that equals out to 19 firefighters requiring a radio. And we have a total of 8. So it's about 1 radio per team. Which still, you get lost. If you're lost, you're the one without a radio. You can't communicate with anyone. And the last one, we finally got access to the fire underwriters. So that's required to be updated annually. And with any changes on the department or water supply system within town limits. Last time this was updated was in 2021. I had some conversations with reps from the fire underwriters. And personnel portion of this was updated in 2021. That included 4 career officers, which we do not have. We have myself and the deputy, which are career. Everyone else is paid on call. And it also states we have 16 level 1 trained firefighters. We have 7. So there's a high risk that we might lose our fire protection grading from a 3A down to an unprotected status.
Can you give us an example of what impact that would have?
I was gonna get into that yet. So when this happens, we could be looking at our fire insurance going up 100 to 125%.
Who's fire insurance?
Everybody's. It's gonna hit commercial harder because your insurance premiums are that much bigger. You're higher risk for fires. Homeowners, it'll probably hit too, not as hard. These assessments by the underwriters are done every 5 years. They send an assessor up, they go through everything. So your staffing model, your water supply, your trucks, they go through everything.
Give any examples of where this has happened in Manitoba somewhere?
City of Weyburn just had theirs downgraded from a class 2 fire protection to a 3B on probation. If they don't do, I don't know the actual what they need to do. They have 6 months to complete certain tasks. If they don't, they lose and they go to unprotected. And that's a city of 13,000. So it can happen. The other risk you have is losing fire insurance completely. You will not be able to purchase fire insurance. Talking with some insurance people up here, it's hard for them to get fire insurance already because of how many fires we have. So one way we can combat this would be to help, or to be hire 3 full-time firefighters. That takes us from a class 3 insurance to a class 2. Because we will have 24-hour protection. That's one of the gradients they look at is your staffing, and full-time members with 24-hour protection pushes you to grade 2 protection status.
You're saying the town should spend $300,000-400,000 now to keep everybody's insurance now, just on that one solution.
No, so that'll save the town roughly 15 to 25% at a cost of 200,000 for 3 full-time guys. But this also cuts down on the chief officer's overtime for teaching level 1 and level 2 with roughly 350 to 400 hours of overtime just for that course. You're looking at about $48,000 just on our overtime alone. We'll talk about this in the next couple of slides to get into it a little bit more.
Byron, can we go back to, the turnout gear?
Yep.
So since you have on your purchase 5 sets of turnout gear, will this also be something that will be recurring for next year as well?
It'll be an ongoing.
Okay.
As our turnout gear expires, we
Yeah.
have to buy new. It would be beneficial to purchase it before it expires. We've had 11 helmets expire in January. It takes roughly 8 to 10 weeks to get new helmets. So we have guys going out to calls with expired PPE. It is what it is. We try and keep them back. Luckily, some of the guys don't show up all the time. So that helps. But we have had to purchase new helmets already, just for liability and safety of the members. PPE is something we don't cheap out on. Not saying that any of this is gonna be cheap, but fire equipment isn't the cheapest PPE to look at buying.
And one set of turnout gear lasts how long?
10 years.
10-year life?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the helmets, boots, and turnout gear is a 10-year lifespan.
I have a question for you as well, Byron.
Yeah.
So you're asking for 5 new radios this year?
Yeah.
5 each year. So you're saying that we have up to 19 members that can respond to a call, but we have 8 radios currently. So why would you not request to get up to the 19 just in case we ever have that many respond?
They're $1,100 each. So this was one way to kind of cut down on budget instead of asking for 30 radios at $1,100 each, so roughly $40,000 just on radios. We'll buy 5 every year for the next 5 years. And the old ones that we have will transfer to tender 1, that way it has radios. And then the following year, we're gonna keep moving along that way.
No, I understand the plan. I'm just thinking about getting up to what could be the maximum. So if you only get 5 this year, that gives you 13. And you have 19 people show up, does that have any negative impact on fire protection?
The most people will have going interior is 4. So we need 4 inside, 4 outside. Plus the captains that are tactical supervisors, plus the incident commander and the safety officer.
Can I ask where all the radios have gone?
Broken.
So as they would break, why weren't they replaced? Letting yourself get down to 8 radios sounds kind of negligent when you used to have 20 radios, now there's only 8. If something goes missing, you think you can replace it as needed, as a can say, well, your helmet broke, so you can't go to fires anymore. You buy a new helmet.
Yeah.
So it sounds silly to let your inventory reduce by 60%. And yet this is the first request for radios that we've heard, or since I've heard on council.
Yeah, like when I started August of 23, that's all we had. I think we had 9. 1 got broke on a fire south of town. Other than that, you know, last year's budget wasn't my budget. I had some input on it. I couldn't control what was put in there. It was brought up.
So I guess the question is, like we've said, other people in maintenance and other departments, I mean, if this is a tool that you use all the time, and it's part of your regular council meeting, get the radios you need to operate your department. Don't wait for the budget to be approved.
And I'll give Laura a bit of a plug. I know she's pretty much an expert with making sure that if you need something, she'll find the money one way or another, because she used to do it. Not good at bookkeeping, she just knows how to.
Laura's been a really big help,
Absolutely.
so kudos to her. So second slide, you know, it's a large increase, 615,000. The notable increases are the full-time guys at 200,000 for 3 of them, that's wages, benefits. The PPE is roughly $45,000. And then our training has increased. It was brought up in fire-wise to increase our training. We had $7,000 last year for training. That we ended up going way over with our training budget, just with travel down to Brandon, hotels, meals, textbooks. One textbook is roughly $200. We have 12 members in the level 1 program right now. So you can do the math on that. The new training budget also includes outside training that's required, such as first aid, CPR. That is a requirement for the department. But also some specialized training that MESC or Manitoba Emergency Services College doesn't offer, like elevator rescue. We've done a couple of those. None of our members have any elevator training on how to open an elevator shaft safely, how to get people out. The only one that has it is myself through a company out in BC. So that's roughly a $4,700 course for all the members to get trained on an elevator rescue. That's one of those low frequency, high risk events. Especially in the high rise, if someone's stuck in an elevator there. We do have multiple elevators, not only here, but OCN as well. And for us to open up an elevator shaft, yeah, we can use our tools to get it open, but then the owner has to spend $100,000 on the new elevator. Or we can do it with the elevator key, there's no damage.
And Byron, does that elevator training impact, what did you call it? I'm trying to find what it was called if we didn't have enough career members, the ranking.
The insurance grading? No.
Yeah, that doesn't affect that?
No. This is just one of those where we've had these calls and our members walking with tools in their hands and it's, well, let's not do that. We're gonna damage it. We don't want the owners to have to buy a brand new elevator at $100,000 to a $200,000 piece of equipment when they don't have to. When there is skills out there that you can learn on how to do it without damaging.
Underwriters, that's what it was called.
I think the owners of the buildings that have elevators in it would have somebody trained to do that they can call themselves. It's unique to have an elevator in the building. There's not that many in town. And
that would make sense when it's a non-emerge, if someone's just trapped in there, like it's stopped halfway through, they're okay. But if someone's having a heart attack and you need it there now, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or the hospital, someone's trapped in the hospital elevator.
just speaking for myself, I don't think we can afford to spend money on what if there's tariffs going to come and base a budget on if tariffs are going to happen or not. We have to be realistic and we can't spend money on every possible scenario. There has to be used some kind of a line like fire defense within the community and water rescue as a secondary. It's nice to be able to do it, but it's not necessarily our job to do that or your job. First priority of the town fire department is to protect life and property within the town building structures.
Yeah, and our training, our philosophy is we plan for the worst.
I was in that building, I was stuck in that elevator and I was having a heart attack and the building was on fire. You're not gonna consult and think about the expense of the elevator.
No.
You're coming in there with the tools that you have.
When it's on fire, absolutely, but when it's not, that's when we wanna limit damage, try before you cry, that kind of thing.
I just want to make two comments.
Yeah,
Fire department used to have elevator keys, so I'm curious to know where they were at.
legally, we are not allowed to use.
You just said you had the training for $4,700. Why would you be not allowed to use them in the event of
To
emergency,
use them,
right?
but
And you have
anybody else?
19 members that you can direct.
No,
Yes.
no. They
Yeah.
do not have. the
If you are on scene, you are in charge. Okay, and that's where that was gonna be my next question.
Okay.
You don't need to have 20 members trained at $4,700 each in order to do
No, that
that-
$4,700 is just to get this company out there. There
The
are
entire-
other
right.
companies.
but you were saying you got the training
Yeah.
and you wanna get every single person trained. That's not completely feasible or necessary. Sure, it's nice to have everybody trained to the exact same level, but it's not feasible either. No different than Sam wanting to have every single person be able to operate the grader, not feasible, right? So you make sure you have enough people in their specialty to be able to do that specialized event. So you are protecting yourselves against every possible scenario or the best of our abilities.
This training, that $4,700 isn't per person. It's a flat rate. Doesn't matter if there's one person or 30 people trained.
Sorry, and maybe I misinterpreted. It sounded like you said you got that training, it cost you $4,700.
No, no,
And you were saying everyone needs that training.
I got it in Weyburn and
Yeah.
we had 27 people trained and it was, to get them out there, it was 4,700. So. Okay. So slide
Last
three.
thing, outside contracts, you never got there yet. Or where were you at the training stuff?
No, we're on slide 3. So the wages we talked about, we'll say it comes out total for the full-time guys at 209,000.
Yeah, so just so on that part, I'm gonna ask, can we get an actual separate detailed sort of report on specific, because you're throwing all sorts of numbers at me and
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you 1,000 questions on it, but I think it'd be important for us to actually see, okay, this is what I'm proposing, this is the actual insurance classification, this is the actual risk in dollars and that, because we'll be here all night speaking
Yeah.
about that thing.
So without the numbers.
Well, you can share the numbers, I'm
Okay.
just, I don't wanna get caught into us trying to analyze that decision without having something in front of us to see.
No,
it.
absolutely. The overtime offset will be, like I said, 48,000 roughly.
And that's what you pay today?
That's myself and the deputies overtime for level 1, level 2 training. That is the minimum standard we require.
That you would have to pay, that's what you would be, well, wouldn't you be doing that anyways? Because the level 1, level 2?
It is during weekends because our members work during the day.
Yeah,
So do you not flex time at all?
We try to, but you flex time, all of a sudden, you're flexing your time, a call comes in. Now you're getting paid overtime anyways.
Right, but that's an exception, not a rule, right?
Yeah.
Getting a call come in is an exception, not a rule. So
Yeah.
if you're having, say, for example, Saturday training session for 8 hours, why would you not then, like has happened in the past, and most managers have that ability to flex their time, so you don't have an overtime cost associated with it.
Yeah, we can flex our time, it's our choice if we want to.
But you're not, because you can make $48,000 a year.
I did make $48,000 on overtime last year,
Okay.
so
but what you're saying though is that based on, if you have to train all these people, there's a $48,000 impact.
Yeah.
Potentially
Yeah.
to train everybody up to level 1.
Yeah.
And that level 1 cost next year is gonna be there no matter what, right?
it depends on our, like, we have such a turnover rate. Lately, we haven't been. But as new members come on, they have to be level 1 trained.
How many members do you currently have right now that are fire instructor level that can do the level 1 training?
2
2
guys,
So that's you and who?
myself and Captain Ives.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've seen the reports of so many guys going for training. I'm wondering why we only have 2 if that was the case. When you've sent away quite a few for emergency level training.
Yeah, so we did have 3, we're down to 2. And you need a level 2 instructor for it. You cannot just have a level 1. And that's not our rule, that is Manitoba OFC rule. The town itself will save roughly $40,000 on insurance on there, I believe. Talked with Laura, the insurance is roughly 300,000 for the year. If you do 15% on going to a different grading, you save 40% or 40,000-ish. That's just a rough ballpark number. The 3 firefighters would also be able to take on building inspections. I know they have a building inspector, but I believe Ola can confirm or deny. I think we paid roughly 25,000 last year for the building inspector.
So,
Was it so? Okay. So there would be a little bit of savings there. So we're looking at about a $90,000 savings roughly. Once I provide that report, I'll explain what these guys would do during the day. In 2024, we ran 272 calls for service and over 7,000 man hours. On top of that was 2,200 man hours for training, and then another 2,500 volunteered hours that they didn't put in time for, they didn't get paid for. Those included turnout gear cleaning, hall cleaning, repairs to tools. That equals out to 11,000 man hours a year for a paid on call department. There are some calls where we only need 3 people, but since we only have 2, we have to send out a general page. And whoever shows up gets paid. We'd like to get into the schools and daycares more for fire prevention. But limited hours during the day, trying to keep on top of office work, equipment, inspections and calls. It's hard, there's 200 facilities to inspect. Takes roughly 5 to 10 inspections because some of the buildings are so dilapidated. One building, it took us 12 inspections. So average inspections of 7 per facility, that's 1,400 a year that we need to complete. Or 5.3 inspections per day. Firewise report even said that our staffing model won't allow that to happen.
How many inspections were you able to complete in 2023?
I started in August of
Well, you
23.
started, but you were deputy chief beforehand, which would have put you.
No, 2023, I started as the deputy. In
So in the
August,
spring, when was it that you started?
August, and we did 5.
Oh, 2023, sorry, I was thinking 24. So yeah, you've been around for a year
Yeah,
and you would have been doing inspections as a deputy, or would be part of your expectations, so.
with actually, I couldn't do inspections by myself as the deputy, because as per the office of the fire commissioner, you have to be trained on inspections unless you're the authority having jurisdiction. So I could only go with Cody,
It's,
so,
as long as you have your level 1, you can go do an inspection.
which I didn't have.
Okay, that's
That's why,
okay. You didn't have your training,
Yeah.
but how many inspections occurred in 2024?
2024, I think,
Because you did provide stats, which were good to see what happened in the town of Paul. But we haven't had a report to council since August or since September. So I'm curious how many fire inspections happened in the town of Paul in 2024?
I think in the annual report coming to council, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's listed in that annual report.
I have the annual report now, sent it to me.
I'm just
and
curious.
come To the next council meeting.
The career members could also go around and help public works out with the hydrants. That's flushing them, testing them, shoveling them out. That's something that they could look at doing to help out. I know public works is super busy when it snows. Even during the fall, when they're doing the flushing program, water breaks happen, they have to take someone away from that. We could have our guys trained up to do that flushing program with public works, just to help alleviate some of their stress. And then the wages also include the paid on call members. I budgeted higher than lower for training and responses. We budgeted the average number of calls over the last 5 years at roughly 190 calls. And having every member show up to every call for at least 1 hour. That was a good budget number to have. If you look at last year's line for the paid on calls, we were think $25,000 over budget on response, just because of the amount of calls we had. And then we also included a 50-50 split on a dispatcher / office admin for the fire and CSO program. I can only talk about the fire side of it. Mike will talk a little bit about the CSO program. But this person could run the radio during the day for our calls. That's a legal document that has to be filled out. If we don't, and we get a HIPAA request like we just did, there could be legal complications behind it. The gateway is a good example. That fire had minimal information on the radio log that could have been done up to help prevent anything from happening. But they would also be able to organize fire and life safety inspections, school visits, all that kind of stuff. Supplies, that includes fire prevention materials. Not only just for children, but adults as well. We've been doing quite a bit with the high-rise Valhalla and taking in fire prevention materials for adults and senior citizens. We also put in $6,000 for stationwear for the paid on call members. That way, when they come, they don't just show up in a t-shirt and shorts, t-shirt, jeans. They're wearing the same uniform as us. We look like a professional department, which then gives confidence to the general public. That's definitely a want, not a need. The radios are included in there, as well as the new SCBA lease that was approved by council last year. Within the SCBA, there's fit testing for the members. We used to do it. Then the liabilities on the town if something happens. It's around $2,000 for a company to come up and do the annual fit testing. That's required by workplace health and safety.
You have to do fit testing on a CBA,
Yeah, annually.
positive pressure?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then you have to have all your members clean shaven all the time and they can't show up for calls with
Yeah.
stubble? I did not know that CBA is required.
Yeah, it's in our SOGs to.
I just forgot.
There is one member that has an exemption due to a medical condition. And he is not allowed interior. But that also includes flow testing of the SCBA's annually as well. And then changing over 19 of our bottles that are still good to the new bottles, the new valve to fit our new packs.
You know, just back to that fit testing, you know, you can get training to do that pretty inexpensively and do it internally without.
Yeah, and then the liability is on us, where
Well, yeah, but
outside contractor, it's off the town completely. We also put in $5,000 for navigation for the Zodiac boat. When you go out on the water at nighttime for any type of rescue. Even with the spotlights on there, it's dark, you can see roughly maybe 10 feet ahead of you. It's about $5,000. And that just helps prevent damage to the boat. That boat is roughly a $50,000 boat to buy new or more. I'd rather not damage it at all if we can. And then we'd like to purchase one new nozzle. We have some nozzles that are 15 to 20 years old. Unable to get parts for them. We also require a new piercing nozzle for pumper one. One we have now is cracked and leaking. It somewhat works, but you almost get more water out of the shaft than you do out of the tip.
Just to rephrase or repeat what the mayor said,
If we
items like that, it shouldn't be in your budget. I mean, they be in your budget, but it shouldn't be in a request at the end of the year. If it's broken, it gets fixed.
Yeah,
It's a tool you need.
and a new piercing nozzle is roughly 3,600, so I always want to just bring it up first before I just spend that kind of money without approval.
Well, you have approval in your budget. there's
Yeah,
equipment replacement as needed, you should be asking.
Yeah.
Should be in your budget already from last year under equipment replacement, even with the gear we're talking about, there should be a replacement model, every year we would buy a couple of sets, so that you don't get caught short looking for, number of radios you need right now. Turn on your 11 helmets, should never be in that position.
so our turnout gear, like, last year's budget was tough as it wasn't my budget. And the lines were a little bit wonky, where we had a budget line for turnout gear, but that was just jackets and pants. The boots, the helmets, the gloves, all of that went under a different line. So I combined it all into one line for all of our PPE. That's why that number is so high compared to last year's number. Last year's number was, I think, 3 or 4 sets of gear just for jackets and pants at 18,000. The reserve funding went up quite a bit, so from previous experience and running with about a $4 million budget in my old position. Anything we purchase out of reserves, I treat like an internal loan. So a good example is Tender One, do a 15-year internal loan to put that money back into the reserve fund. That way, if we have an issue where we need to replace equipment, we have some money in there. We're not relying just on agreements or anything like that. We're putting money in there ourselves. Same with Command 2. It's a $6,000 10-year loan. That way, when we have to replace Command 2, we've already paid it off. And now in 10 years, is a pickup truck going to be $60,000? Maybe, maybe not, but at least we put it back in there. We're not just getting money and spending it.
Well, I think it's the philosophy of our council is that we want to ensure that we're putting the appropriate funding and increase our funding to reserve so that we, not only within the fire department, but within the whole municipality, that we're less reliant on borrowing money if we can spend the money, if we have it in ourselves. I mean, we will borrow money if we have to, right? Because part of doing business. But if we can put money away like this, this is a good plan, and I believe Laura's gonna, in the next few meetings, gonna show us a list of the reserves and what's going to reserves and what we went in and where we're at, sort of thing.
Yeah, so by 2029, we do have to look at replacing a truck, one of the bigger apparatuses. A brand new fire truck. We just went through it with tender, but a brand new pumper is 1.5 million. So we're working towards.
But there is a lot of opportunity for grants.
Yep.
On getting fire trucks.
Yep.
Fire
I talked
equipment.
to Grant Match about that. They're looking for grants for us.
Yeah, like all the time. There's many municipalities around us that are getting brand new fire trucks. And
Yep. So repairs and maintenance. This one's pretty easy. Set aside funding for the annual inspection of both Zodiac boats, as well as new tires for the Rhino. We've had one fail on us, so if one's failed, the next 3 aren't far behind. Winter tires and rims for Command 2. We go out in all types of weather. Command 2 is the only vehicle that doesn't have winter tires. Also includes new tires for Pumper 1. The industry standard is every 7 years, these tires have to be replaced. Just because they sit in the same position in the fire hall, it can create a flat spot on the truck. That increases the risk of a blowout. Not so bad when you're in town. On the highway is a little bit different. The cost of that is roughly 12 to 15,000. It also includes body repair on the RU. That was brought forward by a council member that this should be fixed up so that the trucks are looking clean and nice. So that's roughly $7,000 for the bodywork repairs on there. And then we increased the repairs and maintenance to Pumper 2. It's a 1999 apparatus. It's starting to show its age. It does need more work. It's been down 5 times this year and out of service. So we've increased that, and that includes the rear transmission seal and the rear engine seal. But I'm currently waiting on a quote for that.
But again, just backing up, if we smash up one of our vehicles, we got insurance on our vehicles. We should be using the insurance part of it first. We have to compensate our guys based on, you know, paying the deductible or, you know, I know we talked about if we backed into a vehicle because it's in a fire, we wouldn't pay all the damage. We would get them to go to auto pack and we would compensate them for the deductible and stuff, right?
Yeah. Next one. Where are we here? Sorry, my notes are kind of screwy. Training, again, we've kind of beat a dead horse with this one. Any courses through MESC, that's covering the travel, the hotels, meals, textbooks, all of that. There's never bad training to take through MESC if we can get inspectors, we can get more instructors. Great. But there's also training required for myself and Jacob. That includes officer training, investigator training, inspector. So operating
Sorry,
equipment.
I wanted to ask a question there, because I've seen it come across our desk so many times. What is the rationale behind putting so many through fire investigations?
Right now, we only have, the only ones that went through fire investigations is myself and Jacob.
Okay, because I've noticed about 3 or 4 different times there's been charges for fire investigators. It seemed like you put at least 3 or 4 members through, and maybe it was before your time as well.
Yeah,
But it seemed that, I mean, how many fire investigators does the department need when you don't have that full-time staff, other than you and Jacob, right? To
Yeah.
have regular firefighters trained to an investigator, I could understand if we were a very flush department and had a lot of money, but it tends to be one of the most intensive courses in terms of the training.
it definitely
So
is.
why are we training volunteers essentially to take those kinds of training? That's what I was wondering. You and Jacob make sense, yes.
Yeah, I think the rationale behind it before was no deputy, so it was one chief. If they were out of town, you have to hold the scene until an investigator can do the investigation. For an investigator to come up from Brandon or Winnipeg, you're 8 to 10 hours sitting there. Now with the CSO program running fully, we can have them hold the scene for us. But with 2 investigators now between me and Jacob, as long as we passed our written exam last week, we'll have 2 fully certified investigators. And then the only time OFC comes up is a large value loss to the community, like the theater, or if there's a fatality. Otherwise, me and Jacob can do the investigations. But the only training that we've kind of done for the paid on calls lately has been fire and life safety educator. So if they come with us to do a presentation, it's a week-long course. Nothing major, level 1. And then we had one guy take an inspector course, which it never hurts to have more inspectors. But again, these guys work full-time jobs, work full-time in school. You can't rely on them to do full-time fire work as well. Operating equipment, that's just an inflation of all of our equipment. Fire hose has gone up. If it happens out of town, we can charge for it as a consumable item. And same with foam. If we use foam, we can bill for it. Price of that has gone up substantially over the last couple of years. We can't control the prices. Then outside contracting, the fire underwriters is requesting we complete a wildfire risk assessment. I wasn't able to get a firm price on this from a couple of companies in Winnipeg, so I just threw a number in there. I think that's pretty high for that number. I believe that it'll probably be about that 5,000 mark, but I want it to be higher than lower.
Can we just ask the local guy, Lauren or somebody from Manitoba Wildfires just to
No,
help us?
they have to be certified through the fire underwriters.
maybe the underwriter should be, doing some of these tasks they're laying on us.
Well, I think you actually can, so my understanding from Western Financial, you can ask them to come and do a community safety audit. I asked them if you could do that at a meeting.
We definitely can, but that doesn't touch just wildfire. There's
Yeah.
a portion where you have to upload all the wildfire risk maps.
I think you might want to also talk to where we were talking about underwriters, because you have 5 different points. Fire department operations only counts for 40% of that. Then you get into your fire, like I said, your pub ed, there's another 20% or 10%, I can't remember the number.
Yeah.
But the hydrants that Sam and Tanvir are responsible for is another 20% of that. So it's a big picture, right? It's not just about the fire department. So for them to tell you, you have to go and get a wildland assessment, sounds like there's wrong information, because we're not a wildland. The wildland is outside of our, right? So I think someone is either feeding you bad information, or you should get a second opinion. If that's the case, telling you, you need to get an assessment done.
Yeah, no, it's a requirement by them to provide that.
I think you should look into it.
That's from talking with 3 or 4 of them.
So, just, you finished? Mike? Yeah, so thanks, and it sounds like you got a super detailed report, so, but I've got sort of 5 things, 5 actions, because we need a summary of that insurance discussion, so, with some clear information, so we can get that as a report. We should get a list of the equipment breakdown that you're asking for, so really highlighting things that are unusual, so this is new ask. Then that's what we should, it should show it, this is something new. And this kind of goes to, as well as for supplies. We should get a list of the supplies and showing that gap. The list of training, same thing, should show the list of what training we're planning on doing for our staff this year, and sort of what's mandatory and what's nice to have. And then, yeah, so I have that written down twice. So, yeah, so I think that, it's, obviously you've got you put in a lot of work and really thought this through. But, we would need to see that, we need more discussion, and we might need just an hour on just talking more on the fire department if there's gonna be that significant of an impact. So the sooner we can get that, we can reschedule. Does that make sense? Does anybody? Because I don't think that you think we've got to spend all more time yet.
I think you've covered it all, without the risk of insulting some of our younger viewers out in TV land. I don't know if you believe in Santa Claus. That's quite an ask.
It is,
It's, you're doing it for the right reasons. When it comes down to the end of the day, I want to see something that, following what the mayor's asking for, and something that's related, reasonable. You're not going to get everything you're asking for. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. And that's, and I was gonna mention that. We need priorities. So what's really we need to have. This is, what's our 1, 2, 3s like you showed before. That'd be important. So just a heads up, thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we've got 35 minutes till 6 o'clock. So I don't know who wants to go next, but I've got personally a hard stop at 6. I don't want to be here for 3 hours tonight. My heart will stop at 6. We booked 2 hours.
We're 6:05 tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, guys. Okay.
I'm not gonna be so long. Okay, from the SWOT analysis here is the budget. The CSO program budget will increase this year because of training, equipment. Also, this is not a full year yet. The program has to be running, so we're still getting ready to be on a beat here. Communication issues. Basically, we do have a problem with communication with to our CMP, fire department, and everybody else if we're on scene or we need to get a hold. We do not have dispatch. So the program is trying to get 3 PSC or PSC radios for the program. We did get approved from Manitoba Justice to have them. I just right now
I'm still waiting on a bill from the hotel, how much cost it's gonna be.
What made them change their mind? Because originally you and I had talked and they said no PSCS radios for,
Good question. I did two emails, and at first it said no, and then all of a sudden I get an email stating that you're being approved, so. For them, I don't know, I can answer that question for you, but why they decided yes.
Is that the same thing the RCMP were talking about that day that I was there?
Yes, the only thing with the hours, we're gonna be what they call a tier 2. We won't have the ability to listen to RCP, communications and stuff like that, but we do have an interagency channel.
so why would you need the PSCS if you're not gonna be tied into the RCMP? Why would you need PSCS over the VHF, considering you'd only be talking to fire department members or anyone with a VHF?
Also, we can get a hold of 911 through the radio.
Right, but you can do that with your cell phone at the town hall issues. Considering we cover in town, right?
It's quite difficult, dealing with, what we're dealing with, and then, trying to call 911 and everything else at the same time. So the radios would do is, it'll take about 10 minutes to get a hold of when you're trying it on your phone, plus you're dealing with, what you're dealing with.
So you're talking a difference between cost wise, $44 or 4,400 versus 1,100?
Yeah. So. The other issue that came up was mental health issue. The clientele that we deal with have a lot of mental issues. A lot of addictions and stuff like that. So,
That's a great idea.
yeah, but the training that we want to look at doing
That's a great idea.
mental first aid, stuff like that. We do actually have our mental first aid already to our courses and everything. So,
You have the mental health first aid already?
yeah, that's one course we do.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, actually.
Also, I mean, these courses, if anything ever happens and it came up in court, if we had to go to court, have you got any training?
Yeah.
It's good. It's, I told you I wasn't gonna be too long. The nose increases as you know, is gonna be our wages. We got 3 full-time employees going in now. Training, ongoing, training is always ongoing. We do have our CSO training courses, all 3 of us are certified. Safety gear and uniforms, for now, we're pretty much close to having everything that we need, but every 3 years we have to replace equipment, replace uniforms and stuff. And that's in our policies.
So Mike, is there an actual inventory? So I want to be a CSO person. I'm issued this.
Yes.
If I decide to leave, this is the things that stay behind.
I have my guys already signed out on most of their equipment. So I know that when they're leaving around, they have to,
But is there an inventory sheet that
yes,
says?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
And
So then everybody has like, you know, all of a sudden, I rip my shirt.
Yes.
So I just get a new shirt or.
yes, I will wear a new shirt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is patrol vehicles, we know we require a patrol vehicle, that will yet still, I know I gotta put the town logo on there. It's yet to come. Hopefully in the future, we'll have to look at get another patrol vehicle, but not right now.
No, else. I know that, what I understand is the RCMP has applied for that, proceeds of crime, grant or whatever that process.
Yeah.
Proceeds of crime program is, for us, so I know, Colin did share that with me one day.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was in talks with, I wasn't gonna say anything because of what happened last time, you were saying, no, we're getting it, and then all of a sudden you're not getting it. So, I did talk with the, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn.
Sergeant, there, and he's, showed me the program that he applied for, and that he'll let me know more when it goes down the road here.
Perfect.
Yeah, so. As Warren mentioned earlier, we were looking at splitting the cost for a dispatcher slash, I guess you want an administrative person. Half the cost would go to, my department, half the cost for him. Then I would have a dispatch. Right now, I do not have a dispatch. Most of the dispatch is to me. If something's going on, they call me at home at any time, and then I dispatch from there.
Yeah.
So
So if you had a dispatcher, you wouldn't need PSCS radios then, because you would have direct contact with them and they would look after the PSCS contact.
What I would say with this dispatch, what I would say with this dispatcher, so without saying no straight out, is that, you should work with, Mubarak, you and Byron to create a job description.
Yep.
And present it to council as an additional, position to our budget. And so that, then we can actually make a better judgment for it.
They did create a job
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen it, so we don't know what the content of that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not presented it yet. Still in the works.
Again, you know, just hate to put the financial spin on it, but adding $60,000, we need to see, you know, $90,000 of value coming back to the municipality when you add people. No, it's 1.5 times.
With our program too, we did have a grant, Bola and I were, Bola actually kind of worked on it, and that was me. It's the, I don't know where the grant went or, was allocated to, I never got that information, but the 25,000 to, liquor and autos, right? And they said if down in the future, we could apply for the grant again. Yeah.
Well, liquor and autos actually should be helping us pay for our CSO program, to be honest with you, so we should be on top of these guys for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can apply for that every year.
Yeah.
We had it in 2016 as well.
Yeah.
So you could apply for it every year.
Yeah, so I mean, no matter what it is, we should be getting the money for them. If not more.
Should we like organize some?
Well, if that money is available, yeah, we should be applying for that stuff every year, whatever, Manitoba Liquors and Lotteries can provide us to go towards our safety program downtown. And then we can decide as a council and as a administration where to apply the money against what expense. So back on the wages, Mike, so the 275, yeah, 186, is that sort of closer to actuals this year, Laura, or the year?
No, it's actually quite a bit more, if I'm not mistaken, and that was because the 2 PSO officers were hired quite late in the year, so we never did hit that budget.
Okay, so yeah, so it's lower than 186, you're saying?
Currently, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely lower
so-
than 26.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to wonder what the change is, like if we, the, you know, 48% increase in budget from 186 to 275. So we're adding a half a position. And so are we saying that these, I guess I don't know what.
There wasn't a full year of PSOs budgeted for, they were budgeted for.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Actually, no, pardon me, they were budgeted for 2/3 of the year.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have a
Yeah,
full
full
year
year,
of them, and then for the actuals differences, one was hired even middle of the year, and the other one was hired in October.
Yeah.
So that's where the
Yeah.
actuals are not matching to budget and where we need to increase the budget for in 20.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
Another place where a grant can be applied for is TPCRC through their community wellness plans that they have, makeshift happen. There was a grant that went there. I think it's like $25,000 that's sitting there.
Yeah, and that might help pay for some of that training, like, for that cultural training or that mental health training. Maybe it's something even, leadership of, the fire department would participate in it.
And one other thing that, it's on my wish list, but it's not on the budget. Is probably hiring 1 or 2 more in the future, CSOs.
I do think that's an important thing for us to be thinking about, but what I would ask is that we need a vision for the CSO program.
Yeah.
And where that's actually going and sort of what the strategic plan is.
And be aware of the results.
Yeah, and no,
We haven't seen the report in
Yeah.
months, right? So
no, but so, yeah, I think you're right to think that way, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. It's that I'm not dead set against, you know, something, but I would also encourage you to sit with your peer from the fire department, and maybe you guys can come up with a creative way of adding positions together if that's how we need to cover each other off, so maybe these people are not just, firemen, or they're not just CSOs, but maybe they're some sort of other position, so.
Are all three of you currently on the department? Members? No,
Just me.
just you, okay.
I thought the other two guys were on there.
Scott was on there, but, he, for some reason, with his kids not right now, he's got
Oh,
all
okay.
of his kids right now.
No, that's fine.
Just one time you talked, that
Yeah.
all three of you were gonna be on the department, so.
Yeah.
Kind of segued from exactly what you said.
Yeah, so maybe that's something in the future, yeah. Yeah, but that 3 extra position or 2 extra positions is not in there right now, right?
No,
Yeah.
I think we didn't get time enough to get it in there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's, I do believe that, we're in our infancy with regards to your department, Mike. We're, you know, learning as we go along and we'll continue to this year. But I would like to see us have a bit of a longer term look at where that's gonna be, and when it comes to services that we're providing, how we're contributing to the community safety downtown, you know, what the costs are down the road, but even getting on top of the sort of getting into schools, talking about
Yes.
drug prevention, crime prevention, gang prevention, working closely with the Opaskwayak Cree Nation.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that's good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, now here it comes, here it comes.
Go fast here.
Okay, so on the first slide here, it's really just addressing sort of the main points of, we're seeing sort of a decline in revenue from memberships and admissions. So we're looking to do things to pump those up, and also build upon the programming revenue that we took in this past year. And we're also looking to do things to sort of increase the enthusiasm in the community for the museum, and that's sort of where the new exhibition schedule comes in, and addressing projects that will help us utilize the large collection that we have in the vault that really doesn't see a lot of use. So that's sort of what we're looking at here on the first slide. If there's any questions? Yeah, so the increase is 59,361. The main increases is wages, which is on the next slide there. But it really comes down to a salary increase for the curatorial position. We're having a really hard time filling this position. So we're just looking to top that up a little bit, and we feel that that'll make it very competitive and attract better candidates. And also turning the programming and education officer into a permanent position. You can see on the little newsletter I gave each of you, but we ran a lot of programs this past year, and the current programming officer is really integral to that. So we were looking to keep her on, and in terms of additional programs that we're looking to do in the summer, we're looking to do two a week rather than just one with this added capability. And just addressing some of the decreases in federal provincial grants. So for federal, it really signifies there's not, right at this moment, there's not a good museum assistance program like large, like 25,000, 50,000, you name it, grant available. There's only one for traveling exhibits at the moment, and that doesn't really fit with what we're looking to do. Other federal heritage grants, specifically something like the Canada History Fund, does not have an intake announced at the moment. So there may be opportunities to do something like that once they've announced their intake. But for example, something like the Canada Cultural Investment Fund, they've seen a reduction for one whole wing of that program as part of the 2024-2025 plan from the Department of Canadian Heritage. So that's where that comes in. And for provincial grants, it's sort of that's kind of like the max that we can get is around that 23 to 25,000 mark with everything that's currently available.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my note here. So just so on the wages front, that's solely just a wage increase? And did you say there was one other person you're hiring in there or just wage increases?
So we're turning the programming and education officer into a permanent position.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be full-time?
Yeah.
Okay, full-time permanent.
Yeah, so what we've done is the museum is no longer open on the weekends for the most part. There's obviously some exceptions for holidays and trappers, for example, but out of season, so that'll be September through May. And so that sort of eliminates, that's a big reduction in cost for either weekend staff, like weekend hosts, or in the other event, it would have been me doing overtime. And so the minimum sort of overtime would have been about 10,000 that we're saving, and the max is up to 20,000 that we're saving from me not having to work in on those weekends.
And the capital that comes from?
So the capital already comes from the pre-approved thing that we discussed last time. So it comes from largely operations and the grant.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Did you have a freezer before?
They do have. So it wasn't working from what I understand, and it was too small. So the big thing is it doesn't, like the biggest problem is that it doesn't fit the big pieces that we have.
So how are we able to preserve them?
That would have been probably part of the original collection of Sam Waller. So for like those big things, like the big, like buffalo head and everything that you see already on the wall, that would have already been done back in 1991 kind of thing. So like they would have already established them, but anything new that we take in that's big, we don't have the capacity to freeze. Like we can freeze very small things, but we can't freeze very big things with the current setup.
Okay. And so where would you be able to, do you have space for it? Where would you put it?
We would have to, well, the biggest thing with getting like a summer student in for the summer is their project's basically gonna be cleanup.
Okay.
So once they clean up, there's a little space downstairs in a storage area. Once they clean that out, that's where we can put the freezer. Because we don't really want it upstairs with like next to the collection, because that would defeat the purpose of using it. Because the purpose of using the freezer is to make sure that there's no bugs, pests, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Amongst the material.
Thank you.
Days if you want to close on the weekends, isn't there a way that you can change it a little bit so that when you have something like the Trappers Festival going on in town, where you have big events happening, you got a lot of people coming into the community, because usually always that happens on weekends. So if
As I said,
it's closed all the time, then you can have less people coming in, not more.
Yeah, as I said, the museum will be open for things like Trappers Festival or,
I missed that.
yeah, other special events. That's-
Thanks.
Any further questions for Jackson? Thanks for all your good work, Jackson.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you want to move on at this point. We'll be moving into the Kelsey Recreation, which then returns to the Wellness Center by the same manager. If you'd like to adjourn for this time and bring them back at any meeting.
Well, I personally don't want to go past 6. I don't know what everybody else, but if it won't be 2 hours is long enough, plus I don't want to keep our staff here until 7:30 or 8.
We just be getting into it in 15 minutes.
Yes.
I would suggest we pick up the next meeting.
Okay.
Because, it'd be easy to do recreation with a bunch of notes. But I don't know if that's what,
You look for your timer.
yeah, I don't know if that's where we want to end up. Yeah. So, so we're gonna call, everybody for coming out. I will continue, and I think I'm speaking for council, is we really need to challenge ourselves on what we're bringing forward. And when we talk about regulatory type of issues, that is the law. It's the law, it's black and white. So there's really, we need to be told that, and it's straight up when it's a bit subjective. This is where we're gonna get a ton of questions, and so, well, you know, and then the other thing is if you can give us a little bit of details in writing, for me anyways, because I like to write on stuff. We can kind of see something ahead of time, it might be a little bit easier than just looking at the slide alone, with just very much details.
You know, just further to that, like, we're asking for, we have regulations that we have to adhere to. Underwriters are telling us that I'd like to see, not just a verbal, I'd like to see that in writing.
Yeah,
Not that I don't believe what they're saying, I'd like to see that, because we're being told that by underwriters, this is gonna affect us in a negative way. There's an avenue through AMM. That,
Yeah.
Let's be realistic here, what we can afford, what we can't afford.
yeah. And again, as I mentioned earlier, like, let's get creative, let's push ourselves to think outside the box a little bit when it comes to the spending that we're doing. I know, I don't want us to keep coming or think about, this is how we've always done it, so this is the best way of doing it. Push ourselves a little bit to look at a different way of doing things. Yeah, we might trip up and stumble a little bit and have to readjust, but if we continue to do the way we've always done it, things will never change. So let's take a little bit of risk, calculated risk, and try to make things better. And keeping in mind that we're here to represent our community members, we're gonna ask those questions because we're spending their money. And it's, I'm really challenged for us to, I wanna be able, and I'm sure everybody wants to have a good story when, if taxes are changing, that this is the reason why, and here's all the great things that go along with it. So with that, motion to adjourn. Okay, have a great night, folks. Thank you very much, Laura.
Oh. Question for council. Our next meeting isn't scheduled until.
Laura, whenever you guys are ready, let us know and we'll schedule a meeting.
Like the next one is scheduled for this decade, but I don't know if you want to wait till then, or if you want to.
If you can